Hey everyone, Ryan Young, KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu. Hope you're doing well. So, what is the difference between Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and BJJ? This has come up a number of times, and I've done some videos on it in the past, but let me kind of add a little bit more detail to it. I just had this conversation with one of my private students. I've been told by a number of people, hey guys, that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu knife defense, it's not really all that good. Or that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu gun defense, not really that good. Or your stand-up is not that good. Your takedowns, not that good. Oh, but Jiu-Jitsu on the ground is really good. Or I'll have people say catch wrestling is better. You know, you have all those judo fanboys that'll say Kosen Judo is better, even though they've never seen Kosen Judo in their lives. But they know it exists. And here's the thing, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, you have to look at it as a system. It's not groundwork only. And that's what BJJ is. BJJ is groundwork. And the reason why I say that is because you just think about how they train. You know, they'll do jiu-jitsu, and yet they'll get into a fight and they'll get punched out. Or they'll start MMA and they'll get dirty lickings, right? Can't take the guy down, can't do anything, and just get beat up and never ever get to the ground. When people tell me, look, Ryan, the knife defense that we do from Eskrima is far better than what you do at with Rickson's Jiu-Jitsu. And I don't disagree with that, right? Because I actually have a friend in California who is an Eskrima instructor, and his knife stuff is unbelievable. You know, if he's as comfortable with somebody holding a knife against him as I'm comfortable with somebody, in my clinch, or somebody clinched on me, or whatever. Any kind of thing that has to do with Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, I'm pretty comfortable. And he's as comfortable with somebody holding a knife with the intent on cutting him or stabbing him to a degree that I could never be. Or we have, as one of our students, he grew up boxing. He was boxing for a number of years in championship level in Texas growing up. And he's as comfortable boxing as I am doing jiu-jitsu. But here's the thing. The way I look at it is, if you look at what Rickson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is, or just Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, it's a system. It's like this. It's a whole entity. And in that, you have the self-defense half and you have the non-self-defense half, right? You have the stuff on the feet. You have the distance closing. You have the knife defense, a gun defense, a headlock defense, a bear hug escapes. You have the takedowns. You have the clinch, and you have the arm bar. You have everything. It's all part of this one whole unit. Well, when you start taking pieces out and substituting it in, you take the knife stuff out and you put the Eskrima stuff in. You take the stand-up out and you put Muay Thai in there. You take the takedowns out and you put Greco-Roman wrestling in there. You take some other stuff out and you put, a comprehensive leg lock program in there. What happens after a while is you have a mishmash. You no longer can really truthfully say you're doing Gracie Jiu-Jitsu because you've taken out a lot of parts. And let's say you did what you thought was the right thing, and that you took something out and replaced it with something you think is better. You still have an entire martial art, but is it a system, right? So I'll give you an example. One thing that Rickson and Dave especially to me, right, always talks about is base. Base. So you have base on your feet, base on your knees, base on your back, base everywhere. You have to find where your base is. Well, that's a concept that goes throughout the system. Even with the knife defense, right? You have to base. Once you have the base, and you have to connect, right? Connection. And you have to do all these things that are pervasive throughout everything in order to be successful. Now, if you understand those concepts, you would not do things a certain way. But if you don't understand it, you'd be left with no clue, and you have to find some piece to put in there. But then when you do that, sometimes the systems don't work. So I'll give you an example. Boxing. Boxing is great, right? I don't have any problem with boxers. And in fact, I think if in a situation on the street, if the boxer is able to maintain his distance, I don't think anybody will be able to stand with him, and he'll knock a guy out on the street, right? I have all confidence in that. However, a boxer's distance is different from a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu practitioner's distance, right? We want to be typically the length of two arms. A boxer wants to be inside of one arm. So if I now take out the hitting aspects of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and now do boxing, guess what? I'm now doing the distance at a boxer's distance. And when I do that, I now eliminate a lot of the system of Jiu-Jitsu as far as maintaining my distance, closing the distance and all that, because I'm standing in what we call that red zone. I'm not out in the green zone. And my goal is to get through the red zone as quick as I can and get to the next green zone, which is the clinch. But if I'm boxing, I'm learning to be comfortable in the red zone. Well, now if I come across a guy who's a better boxer than me, he's gonna knock me out. Simple as that. So, you got some UFC people who are particularly good at jiu-jitsu or judo or something like that, and they know where their range is. And as long as you're in their range, they're gonna just mess you up. But when they start to take in other aspects and try to substitute something and put something else back in that they're not an expert at, then that's where things start going south. So one of the things, the problems that I have with MMA, and it's that if you do Mondays Jiu-Jitsu, Tuesdays Greco-Roman wrestling, Wednesday freestyle wrestling, Thursday Muay Thai, Friday boxing, Saturday kickboxing, and then take a rest on Sunday, go back on Monday to Jiu-Jitsu, how good are you going to get at any one of those 6 arts? You'll be mediocre at everything. So what will happen is, here you are, you're the MMA stylist, right? You're well-rounded, but you come across a guy whose wrestling takedowns are collegiate level. Well, he doesn't have any real experience in any of the other stuff, but he can take you down. He can get in, he can close that distance and take you down. Once he takes you to the ground, wrestlers are always, they have great base on the ground. And you've done 1 day of wrestling or 2 days of wrestling and you did your jiu-jitsu, so you've got 3 days on the ground, but it's different ways of doing the grappling against a guy who all he's going to do is just ground you and pound you, right? That's how guys like what were their names way back when everybody's kind of stylized. Whoever was able to, thinking like Tom Erickson, who was a wrestler, and then Randy Couture, of course, Mark Kerr, these high-level wrestlers, when they get you to fight their game, they would win every single time. And that's really the whole goal of these whole mixed martial arts things. It's who can make who fight their style. If a boxer can keep you at that distance and on your feet, the boxer's going to light you up. If a kickboxer can keep you at a little bit further distance and just keep tagging you with his leg, he's going to mess you up. If a wrestler can keep getting in and taking you down, he's going to mess you up. So, but on the other hand, you have somebody like a Chuck Liddell who did a little bit of wrestling, but he didn't spend all his time wrestling. He spent his time, on the ground just getting up. Why? So he could spend all his time punching your face. And he would get you to fight that, right? So think about Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell the first time. Randy went in, took him down, held him down, and was able to finish him. Second fight, Chuck got smarter to that, not let him take him down. Or he'd get taken down, he'd find a way to crawl right back up. He worked on getting back to his feet. He didn't work on trying to stay on the ground with Randy. He worked on trying to get back up to his feet so he could get back into his fight. And what happens? Chuck wins. Third fight, the rubber match happens. Same thing. Randy did not figure out how to get in to Chuck's body to clinch him to take him back down. In fact, I think he might have tried to do some of that dirty boxing. And as good as he is in boxing, his wrestling level is levels above. Whereas Chuck's Kempo, his stand-up, was still better than Couture's best dirty boxing. So by keeping it on the feet, Liddell was able to keep the fight in his realm, and he was able to win. Right? On the other hand, if you have somebody who's not good at anything but knows how to do a lot, he won't win against anybody unless he finds somebody who's completely one-dimensional and is not able to get the fight in his realm. So with regard to jiu-jitsu being a system, that's why if Rickson does it, we do it. If Rickson doesn't do it, we don't do it. Because we're just trying to stay within a system. We're not trying to be everything to everyone. Right? We operate in a pretty narrow focus within the entire martial arts market. And we're okay with that. Our goal is to try to be the best practitioners of Rickson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and then try to spread it out. Rather than trying to outsmart the system, that I'm not going to add some piece in because, you know, I know how to do, you know, I know a guy who has better knife fighting skills. I'm not going to do that and add that in to substitute it, because then the whole concept of base and connection and all that are no longer valid for that one slice. Well, then if you do it for that one slice, you got to do it for all, or eventually you're going to find it. You know, that way you're not going to be spectacular at anything. You'll just be, maybe, you know, I guess you could be competent in everything, which may not be a bad thing too, but it's just not the way we do things. So anyway, I hope that answered your question. And I want to thank you guys for liking and subscribing to the video, and make sure to hit the links below if you need anything there. And that's all I got for you. Take care. Happy training. Bye-bye now.